All right, we can make our writing better if we know some grammar. Writing is something we need to do to communicate at work, write papers, write essays, communicate with people socially, politically, scientifically, many different things in school, high school, college, but more importantly, life. Instead of having subject, verb, subject, verb, subject, verb, having it monotonous and boring, having people tune out a little bit, blah, 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 blah. We should add variety. With the variety, then we're more interested in things. If everything was the same every day and we ate the same meal 2 or 3 times a day, every day would get monotonous and boring. In many different things, we need variety. So in writing, you know some grammar, it'll help. Highly recommend it. We can start sentences in different ways. And that's one benefit of knowing grammar. And it should be taught and brought up. People just know grammar. Okay, it helps you write better, but grammar is important for writing, which is expressing our thoughts. So grammar is an aspect of logic because it's how we put concepts together, and that has to do with logic. And if we have good grammar, that means our thinking is better. We can have more logical, clear thinking and communicate to others better, which is important. So we can avoid disagreements, misunderstandings to some extent, so on and so forth. Or if in some case, sometimes it's necessary, unfortunately, the way some people are, you can craft a better insult. It'd be nice if we didn't have to do that, but the way some people are, it's in human history, always has been, always will be. Some people don't want to be reasoned with, so you might craft some nice insult, and then for everybody else, elaborate on your opinion and why you think they're wrong and stuff, and be nice and all that. In that respect, break down what they think and all that. But human history, so it goes. But some things we can do to start sentences instead of noun verb all the time is, and again, we want to do a variety of this and not do the same thing every paragraph. It would get monotonous and boring. But this comes from IEW, by the way, Institute for Excellence in Writing. It was in their teaching writing, sentence structure and style. Teaching writing, structure and style course. I'll put a link if you're interested. Good stuff. I like it. I recommend it. They've got some good materials. A friend let me borrow the CDs a long time ago. I listened to them. Good stuff. Glad I did. I recommend it. And this is one thing I got out of it. But where'd it go? There we go. So start sentences, subject, verb sometimes. You'll continue doing that, but sometimes start with a prepositional phrase. ly words, ing or ed words, adverbial clauses. And of course, you got to dig into that stuff to know what it means. Study some grammar. I like sentence diagramming. Buy a book, go through it, take a sentence diagramming course with someone somewhere, or a grammar course. I teach sentence diagramming. I can help with it. But learn some way or other because it'll help your thinking better. And we should have it'd be nice if the culture was improved so we were into grammar for the love of thinking and the love of being, that aspect of being human, instead of thinking grammar's in a position or something. That's got to go. That's like non-human, irrational nonsense. That whole thing is messed up. We need a whole different perspective on it. So, again, and I'll put a list of this in the description field so you can look as you're watching or after or whatever. Prepositional phrases, start with those sometimes. Learn what a preposition is. Adverbs, ly words, in other words, not every ly word is an adverb, not every adverb is an ly word, but that's an easy way to remember it. That's the point. And ing or ed words, I mean, participial phrases in particular, to use a grammar terminology. So it's got to be in a participial phrase. A participle is a verb form used as an adjective. So I don't mean an ing word that's a gerund or a verb. It's got to be a participial phrase. So basically we have an adjective starting the sentence. Then an adverbial clause that can start a sentence. So to give some examples, I'll read this first and then show you kind of how you can do it. And put a link to something. I'll put a link to the IEW course and a link to someone who has some of this written down also, but I'll put it in the description field. And so this is from the article Balanced Diets by Daniel Mason. It was in some quarterly magazine. I'll put a link to it and all that. But this is from the beginning, some good poetic writing. Quote, on June 6, 1800, nearly a year into his scientific journey through South America, Alexander von Humboldt arrived at a mission on the Orinoco River called La Concepción de Uruana. It was a stunning sight. The village sat at the foot of granite mountains, amidst huge pillars of stone that rose above the forest. Weeks before, Humboldt had seen mysterious etchings on the summits of such rocks. Painted, the natives told him, by ancestors carried up there by the waters of a great flood. Although weakened by bouts of fever and hunger, Humboldt was in fine spirits. In the preceding months, he had watched the Leonid meteor shower fill the sky, experienced his first earthquake, and confirmed the communication of the Orinoco and the Amazon rivers through the Cascade Canal. He had collected electric eels and watched the dissection of a manatee. If at times the mosquitoes were so thick as to obscure the horizon and prevent his reckoning of latitude, or if at other times ant hordes filled his canoe, he pushed on, spurred, he wrote, by an uncertain longing for what is distant and unknown. Humboldt and his botanist companion, Amy Bonpland, and Indian servants, and processed plants, and jars of preserving spirits, and a chattering monager. I forgot how you pronounce that word. I know it, it's just not coming into my head. Mongerie, whatever, of birds and monkeys in cages on his boats, stayed at Uruana for one day only, conversing with the missionary Fray Ramon Bueno and visiting the Otomac villagers. For all of nature's splendors, it was the people of Uruana that caught Humboldt's attention. A tribe in the rudest state, considered dirty even by their neighbors. Ugly, savage, vindictive, and passionately fond of fermented liquors, and yet presenting one of the most extraordinary physiological phenomena Humboldt had ever seen. The Otomacs ate earth, a prodigious quantity of it. During the 2 to 3 months of the rainy season, when the high and turbulent waters of the river made fishing difficult, they claimed to eat nothing but, unquote. Awesome. Nice variety. Very good. Good style, good writing. Love it. So here, notice some of the sentence starters. He didn't just say, Alexander Humboldt arrived at a mission on the river on blah, blah, blah. It was stunning. The village sat, blah, blah, blah. He starts on June 6, 1800. Prepositional phrase. Preposition on. Prepositional phrase on June 6, 1800. So we get this time information. And then when is that? That's nearly a year into a scientific journey through South America. That's when he arrived. So we got the stuff at the beginning of the sentence. Then it was a stunning sight. And then, because they don't have a better place to put it, IEW calls very short sentences like a sentence starter too, because it's just stylistic stuff about sentences. And so instead of saying have a short sentence sometimes randomly on its own out of nowhere, they just put this in sentence starters. So that's a nice short thing after all the long stuff. Sometimes it's very effective. You got all these long things and all of the short thought. The variety helps. So the village sat. Weeks before Humboldt had seen. So we got this time. We got this adverbial thing. When did it happen? Weeks before. Then we got weakened by bouts of fever and hunger. ED word. Humboldt is described as being weakened by bouts of fever and hunger. Then we got prepositional phrase again. In the preceding months, he had watched. Some parallelism in there. Then we're starting a sentence with a few clauses. If at times the mosquitoes were so thick, or if at other times, it says or if other times, it must be maybe no, I think I copied and pasted it. Seems like it should be or if at other times in Hartsfield is canoe, or if other times. But so some nice stuff in there. You could read that part in the description field, read it on your own, enjoy it. But here's how to do some of that. As an exercise, what you can do is have something simple, just kind of get it started, practice it. One thing I'll think of is he sat on the bench. Okay, and we want a sentence starter for that boring sentence. He sat on the bench. No one cares. But prepositional phrase. We could say during his walk. He sat on the bench. Or during the night, he sat on the bench. On his way home, he sat on the bench. So there we're starting with a prepositional phrase. You can look up prepositions, see what they are, or take a class, learn more about them. LY words, some adverbs, basically. So, slowly, he sat on the bench. And you can just practice coming up with things, different ways to start this, different prepositional phrases you could have in front of it, or some other sentence that you want. Slowly, sadly, he sat on the bench. Shockingly, he sat on the bench. Or participial phrases, ing, or ed words. So we could say exhausted, he sat on the bench, because we're saying something about him. So adjective. Exhausted, he sat on the bench. Tired, he sat on the bench. there could have been something before, so maybe he's sweating or he's happy. So we could say glowing. He sat on the bench. Or maybe he's radioactive. Because we're saying something about him. So we got these ing or ed words. But sometimes a participle could be, we don't always use ing or ed. Could be like ran can be a past tense. You know, we don't say run and runned. We say running, but we say ran, not runned. Things like that. Or adverbial clause. Clause, complete sentence, you can learn about those. Where the red fern grows. I'll just squeeze it down there. He sat on the bench. Or I guess I could do this thing. Insert. Where the red fern grows, he sat on the bench. Or after he finished running. He sat on the bench. Something like that. While the rain was coming down hard, comma, he sat on the bench. Different things you can do. You can practice like that. So you could ask yourself a question to figure it out. If you got a sentence, you want to have a sentence starter on it. You got noun, verb, noun, verb, noun, verb. You don't spread it out. Like maybe have 1 or 2 ly starters every paragraph or 2. Some participial phrases, 1 or 2 every paragraph or 2. Try to have variety in it, not just like have it be kind of a monotonous pattern. But to figure something out, you got some sentence. He sat on the bench. You know, ask, how did this happen? That'd be a better way instead of what's an ly word. It's harder to think about. Think about the real situation. Focus on reality. Use a question to drive your thinking. Questioning is important. Instead of ly word out of nowhere, and does it fit? Think about how did this happen? How did he sit on the bench? Why did he sit on the bench? When did he sit on the bench? How did he feel? Like, when did this happen? Why did this happen? How did he feel? Things like that. Or you want an adjective, you want an adverb. The way to think about it is ask the adjective questions. Bit my tongue a little bit, sorry. So, adjective questions. What kind? Which ones? How many? Whose? I'll put them in the description field. You can use those. Like, ask questions about it. Adverb questions. How? Why? When? Where? Where did he sit on the bench? When did he sit on the bench? How did he sit on the bench? Why did he sit on the bench? Answer those questions, then it's easier to figure something out. Instead of, what's an ly word? No. Why did he sit on the bench? How did he sit on the bench? Then it's concrete and real, and you can dig into your experience instead of just being lost in like words. Or for some of this, like adjective questions. What kind of person is he? How was he feeling? What kind of thing is this? You know, ask some things like that about him or the bench or whatever, or the place, to figure out some kind of starter you could use that. But that's something that'll help. I'll put a link to all this. So learn your grammar, please, to make your writing better, which will help a lot at work. Writing simple emails to friends. It'll make them more interesting and exciting. Add a little flair to your life and more content. This is an important part of being human. We should really dig in to improve this. People like ignore it too much or too ignorant what's going on. Part of our culture. It's not people are stupid, obviously. I didn't like know all this on my own either, you know. had to learn it from other people. It's part of the human tradition. Being human, being a self-sovereign social animal, self-sovereign and social. But learn from other people. Learn about this human aspect. Learn what wisdom people have in history and in tradition and our cultures that can help. So get this stuff, express this aspect of ourselves more in being clear in our thoughts, developing our thoughts more with our friends and family and at work, and writing letters for social and political stuff. And again, if you want help on it, get a book. I'll have to put a link to some sentence diagramming books too. There's some free stuff, some books you can buy that are good. I recommend. You know, take a course from someone, help other people out, help them, they help them, you help them, help each other. But develop this. Be a total human animal, please. Peace.